tonight. The number of people experiencing homelessness in Regina has more than doubled in the last 10 years. Saskatchewan gets slammed with a pre-holiday snowstorm. And we take you inside the home of a Regina Nutcracker collector.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, December 18th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thanks for joining us. Homelessness continues to be a massive crisis and a visible one in our major cities. And as Chris Edwards reports, newly released numbers show just how serious the problem has become.
Now you know what these people have to live through. They live out on the street every day like this.
At a rally Wednesday at Saskatoon City Hall, housing advocates braved the extreme cold temperatures to deliver an urgent message. The number of people without stable housing in the city has grown dramatically. Since 2022, the number of homeless people in Saskatoon has tripled to at least 1,500 people. Saskatoon Mayor Cynthia Block was at the rally. She's only been mayor for a few weeks, but sat on council previously. She stressed her administration is taking things seriously.
It's all hands on deck. For both the administration and for the elected officials. Council is very concerned that we are in being in a reactive process, that we fail to meet the challenge of our time.
But Saskatoon housing advocates aren't so sure. They say change isn't happening fast enough. Melissa Natauha was one of those critics. She thinks her concerns aren't being heard.
Me as an advocate, I don't see much change happening. It's a lot of lip service, and it's not a lot of action. So they say they're going to do this and this and this, and you don't really see a whole lot.
Meanwhile, in Regina, the number of homeless people has risen by almost 70% since 2021. For new Regina Mayor Chad Brzezinski, the problem comes down to a lack of support from the province.
Frankly, I don't think it's a policy. I think we need sustainable funding. Whatever that looks like and however we can achieve that, we need sustainable funding to adequately support the services and the programs that effectively hit boots on the ground and can help people directly.
This all comes on the heels of the latest housing numbers from the Canadian Real Estate Association. It reported that the price of homes in Saskatchewan have grown by nearly 9% since December 2022. Chris Edwards, CBC News, Regina.
The lawyer for a Saskatoon teen accused of lighting a classmate on fire says it's still too soon to enter a plea, but the Crown disagrees. The 14-year-old is accused of attempted murder and arson, among other charges, after she allegedly set a 15-year-old girl on fire at Evan Hardy Collegiate in September. She still remains in custody. The prosecutor says the bulk of documents or evidence was turned over to the defense in October. The teen's lawyer says she's still reviewing cell phone and medical records. Both sides are due back in court next month. Well, it's been a challenging year for Saskatoon police, and no one knows that better than Police Chief Cameron McBride, who took over the job in the spring. Dan Zakreski recently sat down with McBride to reflect on this past year.
Bear spray is a big topic of conversation right now.
Little wonder. It seemed a day didn't go by without someone using it. Police have handled close to 300 reports of bear spray incidents so far in 2024. That's almost 25% higher than last year. And it's not unique to Saskatoon. The province recently introduced new laws aimed at cracking down on bear spray and large knives. Will it make a difference? Cam McBride isn't sure.
And within the context of bear spray, how do we control it at the point of sale? How do we control it as it travels from one hand to another? How does it get into the hands of a person who's going to use it for a criminal purpose? And then is the penalty appropriate? Is the penalty a deterrent or something that will change behavior? Those are things that are so important to understand.
The rising number of homeless people continued to challenge police this year. Officers tried to strike a balance between enforcement and assistance.
I think the police role is to come alongside those individuals. Certainly our alternative response officer mandate is to have an outreach focus to find out who that person is, what's brought them to that state or that position in their life, and find out how we might support them into getting adequate shelter or connected to services.
Working outreach brought police into contact with encampments. The makeshift structures offered shelter. The question became, was it safe shelter?
So the fire department takes that lead. They make the determinations around what's safe and what's not.
Negotiating these issues is going to carry into the new year. Now, Cam McBride says it's not up to police to decide whether encampments come or go, but police will help tear them down if the fire department decides they're not safe. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A 13-year-old boy from Eston will finally go to school full-time. And it comes after years of battling for his right to be included. Aishwarya Duda has more.
Aiden Vansickle loves hockey. Like many teens, he also loves spending time with his friends and socializing at school. But his journey hasn't been easy. Aiden has autism, ADHD, and oppositional defiant disorder. In 2019, his school in East Central Saskatchewan decided his disabilities made it too difficult to include him.
Please do not stop fighting for your kids. If you're not in their corner, who's going to be? Sorry. I know it's a hard fight. I did it through pandemic where all help kind of stopped, right? Like we couldn't go to appointments the same way that we can now. So just don't give up.
For the last 5 years, Aiden has had a mix of homeschooling, half-days, and distance learning. He attends Eston Composite School in the Sunwest School Division, about 2 hours from Saskatoon. Sunwest School Division did not respond to CBC's requests for comment. Instead, his mom heard from the school's vice principal on Tuesday. Aiden will now be allowed back full-time after Christmas.
I kind of went into the phone call nervous that something had happened that I hadn't been told about prior. But yeah, when she said, we're ready to take Aiden back, if you guys are ready on the 6th, it was a moment of what? This was never an option, right?
While Aiden is still excluded from physical education, his mom is hopeful that too will change. Advocates, though, say many families of neurodivergent children across the province are facing similar barriers.
We have been getting a lot of calls from students and their families who have intellectual disabilities and neurodiversity, saying that they are being asked to not come to school either full-time or not at all.
Both women want to see more investment in classrooms and better training for educators on neurodiversity to ensure kids like Aiden can thrive in inclusive classrooms. And as for Aiden, he couldn't be more excited to get back to school and spend more time with his classmates. Aishwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The Saskatchewan NDP wants more accountability from Health Minister Jeremy Cockrell. This after it was found he breached conflict of interest laws that ban MLAs from participating in government contracts. In 2021, Cockrell was an employee at Fortress Windows and Doors, a business owned by his in-laws. He was also a newly elected MLA. That year, Fortress received nearly $180,000 from the Battleford Housing Authority, and Cockrell got a $2,000 year-end bonus.
I believe that Cockrell needs to face the cameras. He should apologize, and we hope that the Sask Party will support a motion to reprimand Jeremy Cockrell in the spring session.
The Conflict of Interest Commissioner's report concluded Cockrell technically contravened the rules, but not intentionally. Conway pointed out Cockrell is the second Sask Party MLA to violate conflict of interest legislation this year. She says it's a sign the Sask Party is not focused on making life better for people in Saskatchewan. Ottawa has announced new clean electricity regulations. The feds previously aimed to reach net zero electricity generation by 2035, but that target has now been pushed back to 2050. Saskatchewan is against the new regulations. It's been against them since the draft rules were released in August last year. The province has pointed to the Constitution, which outlines energy is under the province's jurisdiction as one reason. The economic concern is another.
These are entirely unattainable, entirely unachievable, and would add enormous cost to Saskatchewan ratepayers. And we are not going to be adhering to these regulations. We do not recognize them as being legitimately enacted.
The federal government doesn't agree that it's unconstitutional. Meanwhile, an expert CBC spoke with says the cost is not as much as the province believes, and the new regulations address Sask Power's concerns. And so it begins. Snow falling in Regina. The city, just one of many areas under a snowfall warning, and that also means snow routes are in effect in Regina starting Thursday morning. We'll see what Mother Nature has in store for us. I'll have a look at your full forecast when we come back. Stay with us. The Canadian dollar has hit a low not seen in years. The loonie dropped below 70 cents US yesterday for the first time since the start of the pandemic in March 2020. Uncertainty over trade with the US and the ongoing federal political upheaval are helping to drive the dollar down. The loonie continued to lose ground in trading overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. And with Christmas just around the corner, local shoppers are feeling the pinch. From rising costs to postal delays, this holiday season has been far from smooth. Jeffrey Tram has more.
Inflation is making it difficult for people to check things off their Christmas shopping lists. And while Canada Post workers are back on the job, their backlog means some packages won't arrive on time.
But I'm waiting for a bunch of stuff in the mail, which sucks.
Shoppers are out at Southland Mall in Regina trying to make their holiday purchases. This mom started her shopping early, but the postal strike forced her to adjust.
Luckily, our kids have birthdays right after Christmas, so that's the gifts they'll be getting for their birthdays.
While the federal government's 2-month GST tax break is meant to provide relief, a recent poll shows many Canadians don't think it will help much, and experts agree.
A lot of people get their shopping done early, and obviously then, a tax cut at this stage of the game won't have a huge impact.
Tight on money, this university student is taking a more creative approach.
I'm kind of looking at various cute items that my friends would like, and then looking at the dollar store and figuring out how I can craft it to make it look like the thing,
Regardless of the stress of the season, some people say this time of year is just about the holiday spirit.
This is a time of gathering. It's a time to gift giving. It's a time of generosity.
Jeffrey Tram, CBC News, Regina.
And it's the most wonderful time of the year for an 80-year-old Regina woman with a vast collection of nutcrackers. Gloria Archer started collecting them after she got married in 1962. And to say that her display has grown is an understatement.
I started in 1962, my first nutcracker when my husband and I got married. And it's grown since then. I'm Gloria Archer, and I'm the one who collects all these nutcrackers. I think a lot of them started with the ballet, the Nutcracker ballet that comes out every Christmas. And I love the music and the dancing, and I started with one little one, and it just kind of grew from there. I get them for gifts from my kids, and I have a very special one here, and my granddaughter's going to kill me. But she did this for me when she was 3 years old. I just love it. Well, my oldest grandson wanted to become a chef, which he did eventually. And my husband used to do a lot of woodworking, and there's the chef and the two nutcrackers that are like woodworking people. And that was given to me by my grandson, my oldest grandson. My granddaughter keeps counting them for me every year, and I think I have somewhere between 100. I usually start about the middle of October, just putting the nutcrackers up. Yeah, I set them all up, and I try to set them up when, that the nutcracker over there, that's from the ballet, so that's all of them there together, and then the ones that I got from my grandson, and trying to keep them into a set. Like anybody's collection, that they like things and they enjoy them, that's why they collect them. And I love Christmas. Christmas is my thing.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. Year-end clearance is on now.
Well, if it didn't feel like Christmas already, the weather is certainly adding that extra holiday feeling to it. You can barely see anything out of our tower cam in Regina. Whiteout conditions with that tower cam shaking as well in the wind. And we still have snowfall warnings in place across the province, as well as freezing rain warnings. If you're in the southwest corner of the province, you're seeing both snowfall and freezing rain warnings there. But again, another possibly 5 to 15 centimeters expected overnight for many of the areas that you see in white there. I should note that extreme cold warnings, though, have dropped off for central parts of the province. But radar today showing that system has now moved in through all of the province now. It moved from west to east starting early on Wednesday morning and has now encompassed most of where we kind of expected it would. Again, north of Highway 16 there. North of Saskatoon is where that snow kind of thins out a bit. This is the pattern that it's basically going to be taking as we head through the overnight hours Wednesday into Thursday. If you're in the southeast, you'll get a bit of a break from it around the midnight hour as the center of that low pressure passes by. Western sections of the province, again, this should be moving out quickly through the evening hours, but for Regina and for kind of the Yorkton area around the parklands, we still can expect another round before things taper off by tomorrow morning. Then we have this area of high pressure which moves in, and for Thursday later in the day, we actually start to see things clear out. But that quickly moves away and makes way for our next weather system, which will be bringing some snow and again, maybe some freezing rain to the southwest as we get into early Friday. And that moves through places like Regina and the Weyburn-Estevan area, the Highway 39 corridor as we get into Friday afternoon, and another round of it going to be impacting the Parkland region as we get into Friday evening and early Saturday. Then we get some more substantial clearing after that as we head into the weekend. But visibility is still going to be quite low at times as this system churns its way through overnight. We have many highways that are not recommended for travel, and it'll likely stay that way through the day on Thursday. Now, total snowfall accumulations, we'll probably be in that 10 to 20 centimeter range. This model, I think, is overestimating by how much more snow we're expecting, especially into the southeast there. But again, with that next round of snow moving in for Friday, a few more centimeters being picked up, probably between 10 and 15, another 10 and 15 for most. Wind's going to diminish overnight, but we'll start to see those pick up a little bit again on Friday as that next system rolls through, which could lead to a little bit more blowing snow. So for Regina, we have a chance of some flurries in the morning, then I think we'll clear out for the afternoon, but maybe another 2 to 4 centimeters Friday with that system before we get a little more substantial sunshine heading into the beginning of next week. For Saskatoon, I think you'll spend the day with mostly cloudy skies tomorrow, maybe a centimeter or 2 for Friday, then cloud cover for the first part of the weekend, but temperatures rebounding to well above seasonal, and it looks like we'll get some nice sunshine as well for Tuesday and Wednesday. The Winnipeg Jets have made NHL history with their new acquisition. The Jets have signed Chinese-born Kevin He to a 3-year entry-level NHL contract. The 18-year-old becomes the first Chinese-born player to sign with the league. He moved to Canada with his family from Beijing at the age of 6. The Jets selected him in the 4th round of the 2024 draft. He's in his 3rd season with the Niagara Ice Dogs in the Ontario Hockey League. He is the second Chinese-born player to be drafted to the NHL, but the first signed to a contract.
And it also just made me realize, let me not doubt myself so much. Let me go for these big, big dreams because they are possible.
Well, growing up in Regina, Daniela Beltrami practiced her craft with the youth ballet and the Leopoldus High School dance team. Moving to Toronto at 16 and then to Vancouver, a crystal ball could not have told her she'd eventually land one of the biggest dance roles in Hollywood. Beltrami is one of the dancers in the mega successful movie adaptation of Wicked. Her choreography was filmed 2 years ago in London. She describes the whole experience as surreal. Beltrami now performs and teaches dance out of Vancouver. Stay with us, we will have more news after the break. Welcome back. For the fourth year in a row, a Regina man has created a massive snow sculpture in his South Regina yard. It's more than something to admire. He's raising money for Regina Big Brothers and Sisters, too.
The timing of the snow was perfect. The snow came before Christmas, and so I was trying to figure out how do you bring a smile to people's faces, and so Santa came to mind, and that's how that one came around this year. So this one took about just over 25 hours from the start to the end, so it wasn't too bad. So one of the inspirations actually happened last year is, again, when I was working at it, if you want to call it work, it's more like playing. I sort of remembered how much fun I had as a kid. And so that's what sort of provoked the thought of, well, if I'm having this much fun and having these kind of memories, how can the community benefit? And so that's how the Big Brothers and Sisters sort of came along. And having worked with Scouts, I saw how kids enjoy doing the outdoors and that. So I thought, hey, why not spread some of the cheer and the happiness? And they do a great program. And the kids were great here when they were here on Saturday, and the smiles on their faces. It's great, the kind of programs that the funding helps them do. So as I was sitting working, I saw people driving by, taking their kids out, taking pictures. So it's actually kind of neat to see them smiling and taking pictures. So it's been pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
And he's going to have a lot more snow to build many more sculptures. That heavy snow continuing through much of south and central Saskatchewan, especially in southern regions, another 5 to 15 centimeters overnight. Those winds going to make it feel into the minus 30s. Less wind and less snow if you're up north, but boy, those temperatures still pretty chilly, minus 25 to minus 30, and some wind chills nearing the minus 40 mark there. Tomorrow for northern Saskatchewan, we'll see a little bit of cloud cover through the Churchill region, although I think that will begin to move out kind of as we head through the afternoon. Temperatures still on the chilly side, though. We have that Arctic air still up north with those temperatures well into the minus 20s for a lot of places. Winds will be light, though. See how quickly that system moves out of south and central, though. By the 7 a.m. Thursday for the commute, we'll have the snow out of the way, but likely highways are still going to need a few plows in places, I think. And still some cloud cover hanging around in central areas, but it looks like we'll see the clouds break through the south as temperatures stay around minus 20. Thankfully, some lighter winds, so we won't add too much of a wind chill to those temperatures. And that is it for us tonight. For News Anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/Sask, subscribe to our CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel, or you can download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night and stay warm.